Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media. You will recall that in October, the Auditor General of Jamaica sent to Parliament a report of a performance audit on the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA. That report contains the findings and assessments by the Auditor General's Department of RADA's management of the program called the Rehabilitation of Farm Roads Program. And that report itself raises very serious issues. Among the issues of concern was the level of diversion of funds away from agricultural roads to other roads. Concerns were raised also about the overall mismanagement of the program. The Auditor General, in her report, pointed out, among other things, the abandonment of procurement and oversight practices which led to negative consequences in the value for money, the absence of transparency in the selection process for roads, and the failure to provide specifications and the scope of work in the contracts, which limited the ability to measure those contracts and the performance of those contracts and to hold contractors accountable and liable. This resulted, in her view, in unjustified variations and in the rescoping of work downwards and in substandard work. On the face of it, those breaches in and of themselves point to a serious pattern of misuse of public funds. Additionally, however, based upon investigations carried out by Mr. Victor Wright, our Shadow Minister of Agriculture, it would appear that these procedures and breaches of procedures were designed specifically to facilitate a even more scandalous misuse of public funds of massive proportions. First of all, just to give a comparative context, the overall budgetary provisions for farm roads island-wide for the period 2017 to 18 was $470 million. That's $470 million for the entire island of Jamaica was budgeted for RADA. However, we have identified evidence that in St. Thomas alone, total contracts were prepared in the amount of $1.6 billion, more than 3 times the amount originally budgeted island-wide. And that $1.6 billion was for bushing alone. Not road work, not patching, not anything else, for bushing. This contract expenditure, as I said, was more than 3 times the amount allocated for the whole island. But that is not the heart of the scandal. Our investigations reveal that the job rates in these contracts for bushing were way out of line with the rates being paid by other government agencies, specifically the National Works Agency, for the same type of work. Let me explain. For example, bushing contracts under the RADA program were being done at a rate, or contracted out at a rate of $10.3 million, $10,380,000 per kilometer of road. Let me say it again, $10,380,000 per kilometer of road. In contrast, National Works Agency, part of the same government of Jamaica, was paying a standard rate of $150,000 per kilometer of road. So one agency doing contracts at $10 million per kilometer, the other agency $150,000 per kilometer, a difference of over 6,000%. We can confirm that in at least 2 instances, bushing was paid for at this rate. And we will submit what we have to the Auditor General. But it goes even worse, because based upon the investigations by both the Shadow Minister of Agriculture, Victor Wright, the Shadow Minister of Environment, Water, but in this instance, who is the Member of Parliament for Eastern St. Thomas, in which is the parish in which these purported contracts were supposed to have been issued. And based upon our contact with our representatives in the municipal corporation in West St. Thomas, we cannot find any evidence of any bushing work having been done. So bushing is paid for at the rate, which we can confirm, in relation to at least 2 of the contracts involved in this $1.6 billion worth of bushing contracts, paid at the rate of $10 million per kilometer, and yet no evidence of any work done. And I should point out also that bushing is not part of the remit of RADA in relation to roads. What we have on the face of it is another massive rip-off scheme being undertaken by an agency of this Jamaica Labour Party government. We are therefore calling on the Auditor General to go back and conduct a full financial audit of this RADA Rehabilitation of Roads program. What she did, what the Auditor General's office did originally, is what you call a performance audit, looking at procedures, procurement procedures, the procedures for rescoping, etc. We are asking now for a full financial audit to be done. And we need to know that issues surrounding the payment of funds, who received funds, what work was done, and finding those culpable if there is culpability surrounding the misuse of funds. At the same time, we believe that MOCA, the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, should be called to undertake a full investigation, which includes a forensic investigation of what seems to be a massive scheme to steal public funds. The Prime Minister, at minimum, should relieve the ministers responsible in this instance, Ministers Audley Shaw and J.C. Hutchinson, who have portfolio responsibilities for RADA, until these investigations are complete and they are either vindicated or otherwise. In any event, these ministers and the Prime Minister needs to give the country a full account on this matter. We need to know the number and value of RADA contracts issued in the period 2017 to 19 in St. Thomas. We need to know the rates paid for bushing. We need to know whether similar contracts were issued for other parishes and at what rates. They also need to confirm which parishes, if it was done in other parishes. We need to also confirm whether or not RADA has changed its remit and now is authorized to undertake bushing programs. During all of this investigation, we think it only right that the current board of RADA should be relieved of its responsibilities. You know, we should recall that in the first months of this administration, this current JLP administration, we had the bushing scandal, which was reported on by the contractor general, who called it a massive scheme for the enabling of corruption. Now we have bushing scandal 2.0, which is of even more enormous proportions than the first bushing scandal. Over the life of this government, too many ministers, too many government agencies, too many public officers seem to have been focused simply on defrauding and misusing taxpayers' money. This is the hard-earned money of the taxpayers, and this madness must stop now. We want a full investigation, and we want those who are responsible for any misuse of public funds to be held accountable under law. Thank you very much.